My name is Isabella Whitaker. I'm 32 years old, and I live in Seattle, Washington. My sister, Brooke, raised her wine glass. We were at Sunday dinner, the same dinner we had every week, at the same table I'd been paying for. She smiled, but it wasn't a kind smile. It was the kind she used right before she struck. "To Isabella," she said, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. Her eyes flickered to our parents. "It's just so clear as daylight. Where's your husband and kids?" "Oh, right. You don't have any." The laughter that followed wasn't a loud roar. It was worse. It was a quiet, polite chuckle from my mother and a smirk from my father. They thought it was harmless fun. My fork froze, halfway to my mouth. For 7 years, I had paid their bills. I had covered their mortgage. I had saved this very house. And now, sitting at their table, I was the punchline. I set my spoon down. The small clink against the ceramic plate was the loudest sound in the room. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I just looked my sister dead in the eye. "Where's your money, Brooke?" I asked, my voice perfectly calm. "Oh, right. I've been supporting you. Until today." The silence that fell didn't end that night. It wasn't an end at all. It was the beginning of everything that came after. But before I tell you how everything flipped, like and subscribe, drop a comment, where are you watching from? My name is Isabella Whitaker. I am 32 years old. I live in Seattle, in a clean, quiet apartment that overlooks a small patch of green. I am a UX researcher. It's a good job. It means I study how people use websites and apps, and I help make those things easier for them. I am good at my job because I am good at finding problems. I am good at seeing patterns. My life in Seattle is steady. I wake up at 6:30 a.m. I make coffee. I drink it while I read the news. I walk to a yoga class twice a week. I have a few good friends. We get dinner. We talk about our jobs or bad dates or a new show we're watching. It is a simple life. It is the life I built. But half of my life, the half no one in Seattle sees, belongs to my family in Tacoma. It's an hour south on the I-5, but it feels like a different world. My family consists of 3 people. My mother, who retired early. She had heart surgery 5 years ago. It was a bad scare. She recovered, but she never went back to work. She says the stress would be too much. My father, who calls himself a consultant. He used to be in sales, but he was laid off 7 years ago. He said he was done working for the man. He was going to start his own business. He printed business cards. They are still in a box in his home office. He waits for calls that never come. And my sister, Brooke. Brooke is 28. She is a fashion influencer. This means she takes pictures of herself in clothes that I often pay for. She posts them online. She has 5,000 followers. She tells me that's not enough to monetize in a big way. She says she is one viral post away from success. This all started 7 years ago with my father. When he lost his job, I had just gotten my first big promotion. I was 25. I was proud. I went home to tell them. My mother was quiet. My father was in his armchair, staring at the television. Though it was off. "I got a promotion," I said. "That's nice, Isabella," my mother said, twisting her hands. "The bank called today. We're 2 months behind on the house." My father didn't look at me. He just said, "They don't value experience anymore. 30 years in the business, and they throw me out for some kid." I looked at them. The panic in my mother's eyes, the shame radiating from my father. "I can help," I said. "It was only supposed to be for a month or 2, just until Dad got back on his feet. I sent them money for the mortgage, just that once. Then, a month later, it was the utility bills. Then the car payment. My father's consulting business needed a website. That was a business expense. Then my mother got sick. The heart surgery was terrifying. We all sat in the hospital waiting room. Brooke cried into her phone, taking selfies of her tears and posting them with a caption about family. My father just looked old. I was the one who spoke to the doctors. I was the one who signed the forms. And I was the one who saw the bills. The insurance didn't cover everything. Not even close. "What do we do, Izzy?" my mother whispered, her hand frail in mine. "Don't worry," I said. "I'll handle it." So I took a loan, and I set up a recurring payment. My family support fund. Brooke was the last piece. She had dropped out of college. She said it was stifling her creativity. She moved back home. She was going to be a stylist, a designer, an influencer. Her life was a series of small, expensive emergencies. Hey sis, can you help me? Just this once? My car insurance lapsed. Izzy, I need a new laptop. Mine is too slow for my editing software. It's for my career. Hey, can you Venmo me? The rent's due. Dad said you'd cover it. She didn't live at home, of course. She had a trendy apartment in a nearby town. I didn't understand how she afforded it. Then I looked at my bank statements and realized I afforded it. For 7 years, I kept this system going. I told myself it was what good daughters do, what good sisters do. We are a family. We support each other. But the support only ever went one way. I worked. They spent. I saved. They took. I became the steady one, the responsible one. That's what they called me. Isabella is so responsible. It didn't sound like a compliment. It sounded like a job title. It sounded like a cage. I stopped dating. How could I bring someone into this? How could I explain that my paycheck wasn't mine? That I was 32, but I was still tied to my family's house, my family's debt, my family's choices. You're always working, my friend Sarah in Seattle would tell me. You need to have some fun. I'm just busy, I would say. I was busy. I was busy holding up the floor so my entire family could dance on it. I lived in my clean, quiet apartment, but I was never really there. I was always in Tacoma, in my head. I was checking my bank account. I was waiting for the next text, the next call, the next, just this once. I used to think that's what love was. Keeping the lights on, keeping everyone from drowning. But as I drove to those Sunday dinners week after week, I started to realize the truth. I wasn't keeping them from drowning. I was the water, and I was the boat. And I was the one bailing them out over and over. And I was the only one swimming. The drive to Tacoma was always the same. I would leave my quiet Seattle neighborhood, get on the I-5, and feel the knot tighten in my stomach. The drive was 1 hour if traffic was good. It was never good. It gave me too much time to think. I would think about the week, the bills I paid, the texts I ignored, and the ones I answered. Mom, can you pick up my prescription? And the expensive kind, the one that works? Dad, had a good call today. Things are looking up. By the way, the gas bill is due. Brooke, OMG, my car is making a weird noise. Can I borrow your AAA? I would tell myself to be kind, to be patient. They were my family. This was my duty. But it felt less like duty and more like a sentence. I'd pull up to the house I grew up in. The paint was peeling in a few spots. I'd made a note to get that fixed. I'd paid for a new roof 2 years ago. I'd use my old key. The house always smelled the same, faintly of my mother's flowery perfume, old coffee, and the polish my dad used on the wood floors. Isabella's here! My mother would call out from the living room. I would walk in. She'd be on the couch watching a home improvement show. My dad would be in his armchair, reading the paper or pretending to. Brooke would be at the kitchen table, her phone held up high, taking a picture of her food or her face. Hey, I'd say. You're late, Brooke would say, not looking up. Traffic, I would mumble. I always brought something, a bottle of good wine, a dessert from a nice bakery. I would put it on the counter. Then the ritual would begin. I'd go to my mother. How are you feeling, Mom? How's your heart? Oh, you know, she'd say with a brave little sigh. Tired. The new medicine makes me so tired. And it's so expensive. It was my cue. Don't worry about that, Mom. I've got it. Then I'd go to my father. How's work, Dad? Promising, he would say, folding the paper. Got a big client on the hook. Big fish. Just need to wine and dine them. These things take time. And money. My cue again. Well, let me know if you need anything. Atta girl, he'd say, patting my shoulder. Then I'd go to Brooke. What's new? Ugh, my life. She'd sigh, as if it were a great burden. This brand wanted to collab, but they were only offering me free product. I'm like, do you know who I am? I deserve to be paid. It's so hard. That sounds tough, I'd say. Anyway, she'd say, her eyes brightening. Did you see that new bag I tagged you in on Instagram? My birthday is next month. Just saying. I would nod. I would smile. and then I would start to help. I would set the table. I would help my mom carry the food. She would always make the same thing: roast chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans from a can. We would sit. I would listen. They talked about their lives, their problems, their next big thing. My dad would talk about the consulting call that was any day now. My mom would talk about her medication bills and the neighbors and a new doctor she wanted to see. Brooke would talk about her events and her followers and some drama with another influencer. They never asked about me. Not really. Sometimes I would try. I would try to share a piece of my life. My team's project just launched, I said one night. It was a huge success. My boss is talking about a promotion. Oh, that's nice, dear, my mom said, passing the potatoes. Did I tell you the roof is leaking again? In the guest room. I think that company you hired did a bad job. I would shrink. My good news felt small. It felt selfish. Another time I said, I was thinking of taking a trip. Maybe to Costa Rica. My dad scoffed. Must be nice. Wasting money on a trip when your family is barely scraping by. It's not, I started. I have my own savings. Savings? Brooke laughed. What's that? You should invest that money in me, Izzy. A new camera would change my whole career. After dinner, I always did the dishes. My mother would say her heart was fluttering. My dad would have to check his emails. Brooke's nails were still drying, so I would stand at the sink. The same sink I'd stood at my whole life. I would scrub the plates. I would listen to them laughing in the other room. They were a complete circle. I was always on the outside, looking in. The house was full of pictures. On the mantle, on the walls, down the hallway, Brooke's pageant crowns. She was Little Miss Tacoma when she was 6. Brooke's high school graduation. Brooke at a fashion event. Posing dad shaking hands with some local politician. Mom and dad on their wedding day. There was not one single picture of me. Not alone. I was in the big family photos, sure. Standing on the end. Smiling. But there was no Isabella's college graduation. No Isabella's first apartment. Nothing. It was as if my life, my success, only existed to fuel theirs. When the dishes were done, I would dry my hands. I would get my purse. Time to go, I'd say. Already? My mom would say, looking surprised, as if she'd forgotten I was there. My dad would walk me to the door. He would put his hand on my shoulder. This was the worst part. Thanks for keeping things steady, Isabella, he'd say, his voice low and serious. You're a good girl. You're the strong one. We count on you, I would nod. I know, Dad. I would get in my car. I would drive back to Seattle in the dark. I would tell myself it was love. I would tell myself it was family, but as I pulled into my own quiet garage, I knew the truth. It wasn't love. It was guilt. It was obligation. It was the pattern they had trained me for. And every Sunday I walked right back into it. That Sunday felt different. The dread started earlier. It woke me up. The air in Seattle was clear and cold, but I felt a heaviness. It was the first of the month, the day my mortgage payment for my apartment went out, and the day the family support transfer went out. This month it was bigger. Brooke had emergency car repairs. My father's business license needed renewing. My mother's copay had gone up. I had to pull money from my savings. My real savings. The Costa Rica fund. The fund was almost empty. When I got in the car, I didn't feel patient. I didn't feel kind. I just felt tired. A deep in my bones, 7 years long tired. I drove to Tacoma. I listened to a podcast about building good habits. It felt like a joke. I walked into the house. The smell of old coffee and roast chicken hit me. My stomach clenched. She's here, my mother called. Brooke was at the kitchen counter, trying to get the right angle for a selfie with the wine I'd just brought. This is good, Izzy, she said. Not to me, but to her phone. My sister has such good taste. She posted the video. My father was in his chair. Izzy, traffic bad? It was fine, I said. I set my purse down. The dinner was the same as always. My mother complained about the neighbors. My father talked about a promising new golf course he'd visited, calling it networking. I was quiet. I just ate my chicken. I pushed my potatoes around my plate. You're quiet, my mother said, her brow furrowed. Are you feeling all right, dear? I'm fine, I said. Just tired, Brooke laughed. She didn't look up from her phone. Tired from what? Your boring job? Your boring life? Brooke, be nice, my mother said, but she was smiling. What? Brooke said, finally looking at me. It's true. You should come to one of my events. You're always working. That's a good idea, Brooke, my mother chimed in. Isabella, you need to get out more. Maybe you'd finally meet someone, Brooke said, her voice sharp. She was enjoying this. She had an audience. I just stared at my plate. But then, Brooke continued, who would you bring? It's not like you have anyone. I could feel my father's eyes on me. He was smirking, waiting for the punchline, my sister, Brooke. She raised her wine glass. The one I paid for. To Isabella, she said, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. It's just so clear as daylight. Where's your husband and kids? Oh, right. You don't have any. The laughter. It wasn't a loud roar. It was worse. It was a quiet, polite chuckle from my mother, a small huff of air from my father. They thought it was funny. They thought she was clever. My fork was in my hand, halfway to my mouth. It stopped. Everything stopped. The podcast I'd heard. Building good habits. The bank account. The empty Costa Rica fund. The 7 years. 7 years. All of it crashed down in that one tiny, silent moment. I wasn't a daughter. I wasn't a sister. I was an ATM. And I was the punchline. I set my spoon down on the plate. The clink was small, but it cut through the room. My mother's smile faded. My father sat up a little straighter. Brooke's smirk just hung there. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't even raise my voice. I just looked my sister dead in the eye. Where's your money, Brooke? I asked. Her face flickered. What? Your money, I repeated, my voice perfectly calm and steady. For your rent, your car, your clothes, your phone? Where is it? I turned my head just slightly. I looked at my mother. I looked at my father. Oh, right, I said, my voice as clear as a bell. I've been supporting you, all of you. I turned back to Brooke. Until today, the silence that fell was not like other silences. It was heavy. It was thick. It was full of all the words I had never said. Brooke's mouth opened and closed. No sound came out. Her face was white. My mother put her hand to her chest. Isabella? What a terrible thing to say. Is it? I asked, still looking at Brooke. Is it untrue? Now just a minute, my father said, his consultant voice coming on. The judge voice. You're upset. You don't mean that. I mean every word, I said. Isabella. My father's voice got harder. Apologize to your sister. I looked at him. The man I had been supporting for 7 years. The man who smirked when I was insulted. No, I said. I stood up. My chair scraped against the wood floor. The sound was violent. I'm done, I said. I didn't say what I was done with. I didn't need to. I was done with the dinner. I was done with the drive. I was done with the insults. I was done with the bills. I was just done. Isabella, you sit down, my father commanded. I picked up my purse. Don't you walk away from me, he said, his voice rising. You can't do this, Izzy. Brooke finally shrieked. My rent is due. I looked at her. That sounds like a you problem, Brooke. Not a me problem. Isabella, my mother cried. Real tears this time. Your family. After all we've done for you? I paused at the door. I looked back at them. The 3 of them. Their faces a mix of shock and anger, and for the first time, fear. What have you done for me? I asked. What have you done for me lately? Besides take? No one answered. I opened the front door. You're making a big mistake, my father yelled. I walked out. I didn't slam the door. I just closed it. Quietly. Firmly. It was the beginning of everything. The drive back to Seattle was a blur. I-5 was just a ribbon of red lights and white lights. Rain started to fall, smearing the world outside my car. But inside, I was perfectly still. I wasn't crying. I wasn't shaking. I felt nothing. And then, I felt everything. It was like I had been holding my breath for 7 years, and I had finally let it out. The hook from Brooke. Where's your husband and kids? The laughter from my parents, my own voice. Until today. It replayed in my head, over and over. A part of me was screaming. Go back, apologize, smooth it over. You've ruined everything. That was the part they built. The good daughter, the steady one. But another part of me, a part that was small and quiet and had been starved for years, was whispering, you're free. When I got to my apartment, I didn't turn on the lights. I just stood in the dark, looking out my window at the Seattle skyline. The rain ran down the glass. My apartment. My clean, quiet, safe apartment. The place I paid for. With the money I earned. At the job I was good at. This was my life, and I had been giving it away piece by piece to people who didn't even see me. To people who laughed at me. The anger came then. It was a cold, clean anger. Not a hot, screaming anger. It was the anger of facts. The anger of numbers. I walked to my desk. I turned on the lamp. I didn't just go to my bank's website. I went to the filing cabinet. I had a folder. It was labeled family. I had kept it for taxes. That's what I told myself. But I knew the real reason. I kept it for someday. I kept it for tonight. I pulled it out. It was thick. I spread the papers across my desk. 7 years, bank statements. Credit card statements I had paid off. Copies of checks. Venmo receipts. I got a legal pad and a pen. And I started to add I was a researcher. I was good at finding patterns. The mortgage payments for the Tacoma house. $200 a month for 3 years before I'd missed one and they'd yelled at me for it. Then I'd just paid it every month. Total. $43,200 my father's consulting. Business. $2,000 for the website, $1,500 for the networking golf club. Membership $5,000 in startup funds that just disappeared. Total. $8,500 my mother's medical bills. The copays. The holistic treatments she wanted to try that insurance wouldn't cover. Total. $11,300. And Brooke. Oh, Brooke. Her rent. $900 a month. For 2 years. $21,600 her. Car repairs. $3,400 her. Laptop for editing. $800. The sow. Event fees and career investments. $4,000 and the small ones. The can you Venmo me $50 for gas? The I need groceries, Izzy. The my phone bill. I stopped adding the small ones. It was too much. I just sat there, staring at the numbers. I added the big ones up. $84,000, $84,000. I could have bought a new car. I could have put a down payment on a bigger place. I could have gone to Costa Rica 10 times. I could have had savings. A future. My breath caught. I had given them $84,000. And in return, they laughed at me for being alone. The irony was so sharp, it hurt. I was alone because of them. I was alone because they had bled me dry. They had taken my time, my money, and my energy. There was nothing left over for anyone else. There was nothing left over for me. I opened my laptop. The screen glowed in the dark room. I logged into my bank. My checking account was low. The family support transfer had gone out that morning. I clicked on the transfers tab. I saw the line. Recurring transfer, family support. It was scheduled for the 1st of every month. For $200, it was separate from all the other things. It was the mortgage money. The baseline. My hand was shaking. I thought of my mother. Her heart? I thought of my father. His pride. I thought of Brooke. Her helplessness. You can't do this to your family. After all we've done for you. You're making a big mistake. My finger hovered over the mouse. Then, I heard it again. Where's your husband and kids? Oh, right. And the laughter. The quiet, polite, cruel laughter. I clicked the Manage button. I clicked Cancel Recurring Transfer. A small box popped up on the screen. It was a simple, clean design. I would have made the button a different color. Are you sure you want to cancel this transfer? 7 years, $84,000. The laughter. I moved the cursor. I clicked yes. The screen refreshed. The line item was gone. It was just one click. It was the quietest thing I had ever done. But it felt like a bomb going off. It felt like cutting the cord that had strangled me for years. I closed the laptop. I sat at my desk, surrounded by the bills. The proof. The rain had stopped. The city was quiet. For the first time, my apartment didn't feel like a rest stop. It didn't feel like a temporary place to sleep before I went back to my real life, my real job of supporting them. It felt like home. I stood up. I walked to the window. I looked at my reflection in the glass. The woman looking back didn't look like me. She didn't look like the good daughter. She didn't look steady. She looked free. The Monday after that dinner was the longest day of my life. I woke up before my alarm. For a single, wonderful second, I felt nothing. Just the gray Seattle light in my bedroom. Then my phone on the nightstand buzzed. It was 6:01 a.m. The knot in my stomach was back. I just knew what this was. This was the first of the month, the day the mortgage payment was supposed to clear. The payment I had canceled. I stared at the phone. It was a black rectangle. It felt like a bomb, I told myself. Don't look. Get up, make coffee. Go to yoga. But I couldn't. I was frozen. The phone buzzed again. And again. A rapid series of texts. I finally picked it up. The screen was bright in the dark room. The first text was from my mother. It arrived at 6:01 a.m. Mom. Sweetheart, did something happen? The mortgage payment didn't go through. The bank just sent an alert. I'm sure it's a mistake. Call me sweetheart. The word she used when she wanted something. The I'm sure it's a mistake was a test. She was giving me a chance to fix it. To apologize. To go back to the way things were. My fingers didn't move. The second text was from my father. Ours 5 a.m. Dad. You forgot the house transfer. That was it. Just 5 words. No greeting. No please, just a command. You forgot. Like I was a child who had forgotten to take out the trash. The pure, unfiltered entitlement of it made me feel sick. He wasn't worried. He was annoyed. He was inconvenienced. The third text was from Brooke. It's 10 a.m. Brooke. Rent's due. Can you Venmo me? Landlord is being a jerk she didn't even know. She had no idea what happened at dinner. She must have been on her phone or she just didn't care. She was completely, blissfully, selfishly unaware. She was just following her own pattern. It's the first. Time to text Izzy. I put the phone down. I got out of bed. I went to my kitchen. I made my coffee. I watched the water drip through the filter. Drip, drip, drip. My phone started ringing. The caller ID said, Mom. I let it ring. 1 ring. 2 rings. 3. It went to voicemail. My hand was shaking just slightly. I gripped my coffee mug. The ceramic was warm. I was the steady one. I had to be steady now. It rang again. Dad, I let it ring. It went to voicemail. It rang again. Brooke, I silenced it. I didn't want to hear the sound. I went and took a shower. I let the hot water run over my back. I was trying to wash the guilt off. You are 32 years old, I told myself. You are not a child. You did nothing wrong, but my heart was pounding. I got dressed for work. I put on a gray blazer. I put on mascara. I looked in the mirror. I looked pale. I looked like a ghost. I checked my phone before I left. It was a wall of notifications. Isabella, this isn't funny. You need to call the bank. What if we lose the house? Mom, are you angry about what Brooke said? She was just joking. You're being too sensitive. Dad, I am not playing this game. You have 1 hour to fix this, Isabella. 1 hour, Brooke. Izzy? Hello? I need the money. I'm serious. Brooke, why are you ignoring me? I turned the sound off. I put the phone in my bag. I went to work. I sat on the bus. I stared out the window. Everyone looked so normal. They were just going to their jobs. They didn't know I had just blown up my entire life. At my desk, I tried to focus. I had a report due. I opened the file. The words looked like nonsense. I had put my phone on Do Not Disturb, but I could see the screen light up out of the corner of my eye. It was lighting up every 30 seconds. Texts, missed calls, voicemails. I couldn't take it. I put the phone in my desk drawer. I survived the morning. At lunch, I didn't eat. I went for a walk. I finally checked the drawer. The tone had changed. The morning was about confusion. The afternoon was about panic. By evening, it would be anger. I had 10 missed calls from Mom, 8 from Dad, 12 from Brooke. I had voicemails. I put in my earbuds. I pressed play. Mom's voice was first. It was high and thin and wet. Isabella, how could you? After everything, your father is... He's a mess. You are hurting us. You're hurting your mother. Is that what you want? To hurt your mother? You are being cruel. Just cruel. I deleted it. Dad's voice was next. It was a low growl. You pick up this phone? You pick it up right now. Do you hear me? I don't know what you think you're doing, but this little stunt is over. You are going to call us, you are going to apologize, and you are going to send the money. This is not a request. This is your family. I deleted it. Brooke's voice was a shriek. Izzy, I'm serious. My landlord is going to kill me. He's texting me. What am I supposed to tell him? You can't just do this. You're ruining my life. I deleted it. Then I made the mistake of looking at the texts. The anger had arrived. Dad, you ungrateful child. After all we've done for you. We raised you. We fed you. You owe us, Mom. You owe us. You have a good job because of us. We supported your dreams, Brooke. I hope you're happy. I'm going to be homeless. Because of you, I scrolled through them. My thumb was numb. You owe us. After all we've done for you. What had they done? They had done their basic job as parents. They had fed me and put a roof over my head until I was 18. And for that, I was supposed to pay them for the rest of my life? We supported your dreams. My dream? My dream was to go to college. I got scholarships. I took out loans. The loans I was still paying off. They didn't pay a dime. They didn't support my dream. They just didn't stand in its way. I looked at the text from my father again. You ungrateful child. I said nothing. I just sat there at my desk in my empty office. The cleaners were vacuuming in the hall. I didn't reply to a single text. I didn't answer a single call. Silence was my only weapon. It was the only answer I had left. I went home. I made a simple dinner. I watched a show. My phone was still lighting up. It was a dying star, collapsing in on itself. I took a screenshot of Mom's text. I took a screenshot of Dad's text. I took a screenshot of Brooke's text. I went to my computer. I opened the folder where I kept the $84,000 worth of receipts. I made a new subfolder. I named it The Fallout. I saved the screenshots. I was a researcher. I knew you had to save your data. Some part of me knew. This was not a fight. This was a war, and it wasn't over. The week that followed was silent. After that first day of nonstop calls and angry texts, it all just stopped. It was, in many ways, worse. The silence was loud. It was heavy. It was the silence of a held breath. It was the quiet before a storm. I went to work. I went to yoga. I paid my own bills. I felt like I was walking on a tightrope. I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. It dropped on Friday night. A single text message. It wasn't from one of them. It was a group text. Dad, Mom, Brooke, and me. The text was from my father. Dad, come home Sunday. 5 p.m., we need to talk? It wasn't an invitation. It wasn't an apology. It was a summons. We need to talk. He didn't mean talk. He meant lecture. He meant put you back in your place. My first instinct was to say no. To just text back, I'm busy. Or, no thank you. Or to just ignore it. But I knew I couldn't. If I didn't go, this would never end. They would keep texting. They would keep calling. They might even show up at my apartment. I had to go. I had to face them. I had to end this in the place where it all began. I spent all day Saturday preparing. I didn't go to my hairdresser. I didn't buy a new power outfit. I went to my desk. I opened the folder named Family. I printed things. Printed the bank statement with the recurring $200 family support transfer. Printed the Venmo history for Brooke. I printed the copies of the checks. I had written for my father's consulting business. I printed the receipts for my mother's holistic treatments. I put it all in a simple manila folder. I didn't label it. I just put it in my bag. I spent the rest of the day just breathing. I told my friend Sarah I was doing a deep clean. I was. On Sunday, I didn't dread the drive. This time, I wasn't the victim. I wasn't the good daughter. I wasn't the ATM, I was just Isabella, a 32-year-old woman going to a meeting. I drove the hour to Tacoma. I didn't listen to a podcast. I just listened to the sound of the road. I pulled up to the house. The paint was still peeling. I used my key. I walked in. The smell was the same. Old coffee and judgment. They were all there, arranged. It was a stage. My father sat in his big armchair, the judge's chair. My mother sat on the couch, her hands twisted in her lap. She wouldn't look at me. She just stared at her own knees. Brooke was on the other end of the couch. She was scrolling her phone. She was pretending to scroll. It was a performance. I'm so bored. This doesn't affect me. But her leg was bouncing. I stood in the middle of the room. I didn't sit down. Hi, I said. My father pointed to the empty chair opposite him. Sit down, Isabella. I'm fine standing, I said. My voice was calm. It didn't even shake. My father took a deep breath. He was trying to be patient. The reasonable patriarch. We've had a difficult week, he said. Have we? I asked. My week was fine. Quiet, actually. My mother flinched. Brooke stopped scrolling. Your mother. my father said, his voice getting low. Has a heart condition. The stress you've put her under? It's unacceptable. My mother looked up. We can't live like this, Isabella. We're a family. I know we are, I said. Then why? My father demanded. Why stop helping now? After all these years? You know why, I said. Because of a stupid joke? He scoffed. You're going to destroy your family over a joke? It wasn't a joke, I said. It was the truth. It was the one true thing anyone has said in this house for years. My father's face darkened. This foolishness. It ends today. You are going to apologize to your mother. You are going to apologize to your sister. And you are going to turn that bank transfer back on. I looked at him, at this man who thought he could just command me. No, I said. No, he repeated like he'd never heard the word. No, I said again. It's not help if it's expected. It's not support if it's demanded. That's called obligation. The room was perfectly still. I could hear the clock ticking on the mantel. Brooke let out a short, ugly laugh. A sneer. Wow, she said, finally looking up from her phone. Someone found their backbone. I turned to her. I had been waiting for this. You mock me, Brooke, I said, my voice still quiet. But you have lived off me for 7 years. You're a 28-year-old woman, and you've had me paying your rent like I'm your second parent. You? You bitch! She shrieked, her face turning red. That's enough, my father roared. He slammed his fist on the arm of his chair. It wasn't a table slam, but it was close. You watch your tone, he seethed. You are in my house, and we are your parents. He stood up then. He was trying to be big, to be intimidating. I didn't move. I didn't flinch. I just looked him in the eye. Respect is earned, Dad, I said. It's not demanded. The silence after my words was absolute. My father's face was red. His mouth was open, but no words came out. He was a man who had been in charge his whole life, or at least he had pretended to be. He had just been told no by the one person he never thought would say it. My mother was rocking, just slightly, on the couch. Isabella, please, she whispered. But it was Brooke who broke the spell. She was angry. She was cornered. She stood up, her phone in her hand like a weapon. You think you're so much better than us, don't you? With your big Seattle job and your quiet apartment. She sneered. You'd be nothing without us. We're your family. We're the only ones who will ever love you. I almost smiled. It was so pathetic. So predictable. No, Brooke, I said. I looked her right in the eye. I wouldn't be nothing without you. I paused. I'd be richer. I reached into my bag. The bag I had set by my feet. I pulled out the manila folder. I walked to the coffee table. The one my mother always told me to use a coaster on. I dropped the folder on it. The thwack of the paper was louder than my father's yell. What's this? My father demanded. Your homework? It's my research, I said. Brooke, curious, reached for it. Go ahead, I said. Open it. She opened the clasp. She pulled out the top paper. It was the Venmo history. Her face went from red to white. What is this? She whispered. That, I said, is every dollar I have ever sent you. Your rent, your car, your clothes, your lattes. It's all there. I looked at my father. The next page is your consulting business. The $8,000 you needed for startup funds. I looked at my mother. And yours is in there too, Mom. The holistic treatments insurance wouldn't cover. The prescription copays. I let them look. I let them see the pages, the numbers. I added it up, I said, my voice as clear and cold as the rain outside. I stopped counting the small things. The groceries, the gas money, the $20 just till Friday. I just counted the big things. I stood up straight. $84,000. My mother gasped. She put her hand to her heart. This time, I think it was real. Brooke just stared, speechless. My father's face was unreadable. He was looking at the papers. He was looking at the proof. I gave you $84,000, I said. And in return, you laughed in my face because I don't have a husband. I took a deep breath. This was the hard part. But you know, I said, I didn't mind. I really didn't. I was the steady one. I was the good daughter. I was keeping the lights on. I was doing my job. I paused. Until the job description changed. I reached back into my bag. I pulled out one more paper. It was folded. I didn't put it on the table. I walked over and I held it out to my father. He wouldn't take it. "What is it?" he said, his voice raspy. "It's from my bank," I said. "I got it 3 days ago. After my fallout folder got me thinking, I decided to pull my credit report, just to be steady." I was lying. The bank had called me about a missed payment. "It's a notice," I said. "About a home equity loan." My mother stopped rocking. "A loan," I said, "that I apparently co-signed for. 6 months ago." I looked my father in the eye. "You took out a home equity loan on this house, and you forged my signature." The color drained from his face. Completely. He looked gray. That's ridiculous," he blustered. He tried to laugh. "It's a bank error. A misunderstanding, is it?" I said. "Because the bank disagrees. They seem to think it's fraud." I unfolded the paper. I showed him the signature. His clumsy, shaky attempt at my name. "I don't know who you think you are," he started, his voice rising, trying to get his power back. "I know exactly who I am," I said. "I'm the person you stole from, Isabella." My mother cried, her tears finally coming. Real hot tears. We only did it to protect the house. The plumbing. It was going to burst. We didn't want to bother you. You were so busy." I looked at her. The practiced tears. The practiced excuses. "You didn't not bother me, Mom," I said. "You stole from me. You didn't think." I looked back at my father. "You counted on me cleaning it up. You counted on me being the good daughter and just paying the bill. You never, ever thought I would find out." I refolded the paper. "Here's the deal," I said. "You have 30 days, not to pay me back. I don't want your money. You don't have any money. You have 30 days to get my name off that loan, refinance, sell the house. I don't care. You will clear my name." I let that sit. "And if you don't?" My father said, his voice a low threat. "If you don't," I said, "my lawyer files a report for fraud, and my lawyer will be very happy to show the police this folder and all the screenshots from this week." Silence. Complete, total, beautiful silence. I had them. My mother was openly sobbing. We can't. We'll be homeless." "That," I said, "is not my problem." I turned. I walked toward the front door. My hand was on the knob. "You counted on me to clean this up," I said, my back to them. "Not this time." I walked out. I closed the door. And I didn't look back. The 2 weeks that followed were the real test. After I walked out, I expected more texts. More anger. More pleading. I got nothing. It was a total, deafening silence. I had given them an ultimatum. I had accused my father of a felony. And now, nothing. I started to doubt myself. Did I imagine it? Did I go too far? Are they just ignoring me? I had hired a lawyer. Just a consultation at first. I'd paid her a retainer. I gave her a copy of the loan and the bank notice. "It's clear-cut forgery," she'd said, her voice businesslike. "They won't fight this. They can't. But my family, they weren't rational. They lived on pride and excuses. I was afraid. I was afraid my father would be stupid enough to call my bluff, that I would actually have to file the police report, that I would have to send my own father to jail. Did I have the strength to do that? I spent those 2 weeks not sleeping. I sat at my window, watching the city lights on the water. I drank a lot of tea. I thought about my childhood. I tried to find the good memories. A time my dad taught me to ride a bike. A time my mom made me soup when I was sick. But all the memories were tainted. They were just normal parenting. Was that worth $84,000 and a forged signature? The call came on a Tuesday morning. I was at my desk. My phone buzzed. It was an unknown number. "My lawyer." "Isabella," she said. "Hi," I said. My mouth was dry. "It's done." "What?" "It's done," she said. "The bank's fraud department contacted him. He didn't fight it. He admitted to the forgery to clear you. He had to. The bank, they don't like being lied to. Your name is cleared. The loan is no longer your problem." I held the phone. I couldn't speak. "Isabella?" "I'm here," I whispered. What happens to them?" "The bank is forcing a sale of the house to cover the original loan and the new one. They have to pay what they owe. But that's not your concern. You're free. Your credit is clean. You're free." I hung up the phone. I stood up from my desk. I walked to the big window in my office. It overlooked the city. It was over. It was just over. 7 years. The weight on my shoulders. The knot in my stomach. The dread of the first of the month. It was gone. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stood there. I felt empty, but it was a good emptiness. It was a clean slate. It was a room I could finally fill with my own things. That night I went home. I didn't open my laptop to check my bank account. I poured a glass of wine. A good one. When I had been saving, I stood at my own apartment window. I watched the ferries glide across the water, their lights like little stars. I raised my glass. To endings, I said to the empty room. To beginnings. To peace. I took my first real, full breath in 7 years. The next day I went online. I looked at my savings account. The one that was just mine. I booked a flight, Costa Rica, non-refundable, for 2 weeks. A month later, I was back. I was tan. I was rested. I had learned to surf. Badly. I was driving to my friend Sarah's house for dinner. Her new place was in a suburb just north of Tacoma. I took a wrong turn. I found myself on a street I knew. I found myself driving past the street. I pulled over. I couldn't help it. There it was. My childhood home, and there it was. A big, ugly for sale sign hammered into the front lawn. Bank owned. A red banner across the top said. I sat there, in my car, just looking. I expected to feel triumph. I expected to feel anger. I expected to feel something. I felt nothing. It wasn't my home. It was just a house. It was a pile of wood and debt. I didn't feel triumph. I just felt clarity. I finally understood. When you build your comfort on someone else's sacrifice, it doesn't last. It's not a foundation. It's a house of cards. It always collapses. I put my car in gear, and I drove away. 3 months passed. My trip to Costa Rica was a start. I started dating. I put money into my 401k. Real adult things. I was building my life. I hadn't heard a single word from my family. Not a text. Not an email. I didn't know where they lived. I didn't know what they were doing. Part of me was relieved. Part of me felt like an orphan. Then I got a text. It was from a number I didn't recognize. Text, Isabella? It's Mom. I'm using a new phone. We're in a small apartment now. I'm cooking. We're having one last dinner. Before Brooke moves. Please. Just one dinner. My heart did a stupid little flip. Mom, please. My first thought was, no, absolutely not. Why would I go? What was left to say? I thought about ignoring it. I thought about blocking the number, but the text said, please. It didn't say you owe us. It didn't say you have to, and it said before Brooke moves. I was curious. I went. Not out of guilt. I went because I needed to. I needed closure. I needed to see them one last time, in their new life, to know that my new life was real. The address was in a rundown part of Tacoma, an apartment complex with a flickering vacancy sign. I found the unit. I knocked. My mother opened the door. She looked older, thinner. Her hair was gray at the roots. She wasn't wearing her usual jewelry, but she smiled. A real small, tired smile. You came, she said. Hi, Mom, I said. The apartment was tiny. 2 rooms. The furniture was old, mismatched. It smelled like spaghetti. My father was at a small card table reading the paper. He looked up. He didn't look like the judge. He just looked like an old man. He nodded at me. Isabella. Dad? I nodded back. Brooke was on a stained couch packing a cardboard box. She was wearing a uniform. A blue polo shirt with a Best Buy logo on it. She looked up. Her hair was in a simple ponytail. No makeup. Hey, Izzy, she said, her voice quiet. Hey, Brooke, I said. You're moving? Yeah, she said, taping the box shut. To Portland. My friend has a spare room. I'm transferring to the store there. Oh, I said. My mother bustled. Dinner is ready? We don't have a real table. We can just eat here. She served spaghetti on paper plates. We sat, the 3 of them on the couch, me in a rickety chair. It was quiet. No one was yelling. No one was pretending. No one was making jokes. We just ate. It was awkward. It was sad, but it was honest. Finally, I put my plate down. I had to say what I came to say. I'm glad you're working, Brooke, I said. She looked up, surprised. It sucks, but it's money. I'm glad you're okay, Mom, I said. She nodded, her eyes wet. We're getting by. I'm not here to fight. I said, looking at all of them. And I'm not here to make up. I'm just here to say, this is the new way. They all looked at me. I'm not cutting you out of my life, I said. I don't want to do that. You're still my family. My mother's face lit up. But, I said, holding up my hand, the bank is closed. I will never be your safety net again. I won't be your steady one. I'm just me. I looked at my father. If you fall, you get back up on your own. I looked at my mother. If there's an emergency, you have to find another way. I looked at Brooke. You're an adult. You have to be one now. I waited. I waited for the anger, the yelling, the tears, nothing. My father just nodded, slowly. He was humbled. We know, Isabella. We know. My mother was crying, but she just nodded. Brooke looked down at her blue shirt. I know, Izzy, she whispered. And for the first time, the silence didn't feel like war. It didn't feel like victory. It felt like understanding. I stood up. I have to go. My mom walked me to the door. She didn't hug me. You look good, Isabella, she said. You look happy. I am, I said. Driving home that night, I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel angry. I rolled the window down. The cold air hit my face. It was clean and new. I thought about all the years I had lost, all the money, all the time I had spent trying to earn their love, trying to buy it. I realized letting them go was the only way to find any peace. I finally understood. Love isn't sacrifice, not the kind they wanted. It's respect, and respect had to start with me. It had to start with saying no.